Unicorns Talk is a weekly podcast where we discuss the ups and downs of the human experience, from personal growth to romantic relationships and everything in between. This show is for life livers, life lovers, and life enhancers. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, your life enhancement coach, and together we're going to laugh, love, and learn to maneuver all of life's little messes. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 30. 30. That's crazy. Episode number 30 of Unicorns Talk podcast. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I am a licensed professional counselor and a certified life purpose and relationship coach for Black women who are ready to heal from their past so we can build a future that we deserve. And I am officially having the best week ever, at least the best week in a very long time. I'm having a good week this week, you guys, and I'm excited about that. Things are going really well for me this week. I feel like I've been very productive. I feel like the my Facebook group, Trust Village, there's a lot more activity. People are participating more. I feel the relationships are really building within the community itself, and I'm excited to see that other people connecting with each other and helping each other and putting their questions out there and things like that. So I'm excited about that. I have my very first digital product launch coming up next week, and so that's exciting. Duh, that's exciting. And I found out this week that when you Google something like, I think it was Black women's empowerment or something like that, that my name comes up on the first page of the Google search. And in fact, the person who told me about it said that I was number 5 on the list that Google came up with for her, and that was her first time Googling me. So that's exciting. It makes me feel really good to know that, I'm just able to help as many people as possible. So I'm excited about that. Also, this week, I am bringing you all an interview. We're still in Women's History Month. March is Women's History Month. And I told you all that every week this month, I was going to be giving you a interview conversation with a unicorn that I believe deserves to be celebrated. Someone who, I think Black women just by nature of who we are, we deserve to be celebrated because in every area of our lives, we are holding things together. And so I really want to highlight Black women who I love or who I feel connected to in some way, shape, form, or fashion that I just believe need to be celebrated for making a difference in their communities or making a difference in the lives of their loved ones. So today's interview is with Yvette Henry, and I absolutely love Yvette. You're going to love this interview. Yvette is the wife of Glen Beleaf Mel Henry. If you've ever seen or heard of the very successful YouTube show Belief in Melanin, or excuse me, Belief in Fatherhood. I always want to say Belief in Melanin, but it's Belief in Fatherhood. So if you've ever seen that show, this is the wife. You've seen her on that show. And so, but she has her own like thing going on, but that is where was introduced to her, and decided to do more research. And so I'm really excited about that. And then, of course, we have High Five today and just a few announcements at the end of that. And then that's the whole show. That's all I got for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Yvette Henry is a child of God and wife to the creative genius behind the wildly popular YouTube series Belief in Fatherhood. She's a teacher turned stay at home mom of 3 beautiful children, Theophilus, Uriah, and Anaya, also known as the Chocolate Babies. Since February 2016, Yvette has shared her journey of self discovery in a public journal she calls Mrs. Melanin Exposed. As often as life will allow, readers are treated to an inside look at the reality of what it's like to find your place despite all of the labels life places on you. She continues to be an inspiration as she grows in her faith and learns to walk in her purpose. Without further ado, here's my interview with Yvette Henry. Enjoy. I am ridiculously excited about talking to you today. I love your family. I love watching your family. I love reading your blog, everything that you have going on. I mean, I personally am inspired by you and your story and those little chocolate babies of yours. And so, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me today.
No problem.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and start talking about the blog. So you have this well, you don't call it a blog, you call it a personal journal. All right,
Hmm.
that's what your about me page says. You call it your personal journal. Talk to
Hmm.
me a little bit about the journey to the journal. Like, how did you come to the conclusion that you wanted to or needed to keep this journal and kind of track your journey?
So I guess it was more of an accountability thing where it's funny because last week I got a 2-year anniversary notice from WordPress. But I started it because before I got married, and even at the beginning of our marriage, I was a really big journaler. Like I had a journal and I'd write in it and I just journaled all the time. And then it got to a point where I started becoming an adult. I feel like I feel
I
like
like the
once we got
I like the air quotations
yeah, I'm
around
just kind of like
adult.
I don't know. But we got married and then it was like everything kind of started to get real. Like I had started to get real life responsibilities, like paying bills and having to go to a job at a certain time and being accountable to that job. And so things like journaling kind of fell to the back burner and I wasn't doing it as much. And I think 2 years ago, I got to the point where I was like, man, that was a really good outlet for me. And then I think it also got to the point where I was like, I can't be the only one dealing with this. And so I felt like if I exposed myself, which is why it's called Mrs. Melanin Exposed, if I exposed myself, my heart, the things that I was dealing with internally, then maybe it definitely does something for me. It's completely selfish, to be honest. Like it helps me a lot to just kind of just get it out. But I also felt like it would be a nice way for other women who are in similar seasons or not, um, to kind of have someone that they can relate to or to know that there's someone else out there dealing with it. And then to hopefully create a dialogue back and forth, for us to be able to kind of cry on each other's shoulders, pat each other on the back, encourage each other, do whatever needs to happen. But it's definitely something that I use to just kind of get my thoughts out there. And a lot of times my thoughts are not even complete. If you've read my blog, you know that. But it's just a way for me to just be like, ugh, let me get it out.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. You know, this whole series that we do, what I'm interviewing you for now, my interview series on the podcast is called Conversations with the Unicorn. And it's all about us sharing our stories. So I agree with
mm-hmm,
everything that you're saying. We have to share our stories with each other. And your
mm-hmm,
story is so very, very interesting. And I think that there are a lot of lessons that you share. I mean, I read like your piece, one of your more recent pieces, with the whole H&M controversy
mm-hmm,
and how that really kind of made you have to examine your own thought process, like, you
mm-hmm,
know, as it relates to your kids, but then also just like about your feelings about the whole thing and the whole situation. And
mm-hmm,
so for you, I love the name of the podcast, Mrs. Melanin Exposed. I just feel like it's so I don't know, it just really stands out to me, and I feel like it does say exactly like everything that the blog is or that the personal journal
mm-hmm,
is, you know, like it just kind
mm-hmm.
of wraps it all into one. For you, is it important that you specifically connect with the Black community through your personal journal, or is it just I'm melanin, like I'm melanated, and so I just want to call it that, or like how much did the culture itself kind of factor into your, I don't want to say just like your naming, but just your whole journey, your process?
So to be completely honest, my husband is I guess he is a rapper, but he's not currently like, putting full on albums out there. But when I met him, his name was Beleaf Melanin. He calls himself Beleaf Mel for short.
Okay.
And so when I started getting on social media when I started dating and then eventually marrying him. And so when I created my Instagram name, it was Mrs. Melanin. And so I kind of wanted my Instagram and my blog to kind of merge. So it just became me, Mrs. Melanin Exposed. So it wasn't necessarily intentional on reaching the Black community per se, but I feel like it's funny because this is something that I've been dealing with. You'll probably see a blog post coming out soon. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. Hopefully by the time this gets out, I will be.
Yeah.
But my next post that I'm going to be talking about is, well, actually, that's not true. The next one's different. But anyways, a post is coming out about like influence. And I've never wanted to be someone who like people look at as an example. But I feel like it's become a part of me. Like from a young girl, I grew up in a Black Baptist church, and I was the daughter of a preacher and the choir director and the Sunday school teacher and whatever. And so, and I have two brothers, and we all are totally different, but I was always the one that was kind of the one that, in quotes, had it all together. And I really don't. But it appeared that way. And so people started putting me on a pedestal, and it was always like other parents like, why can't you be more like Yvette? Or it was just like this whole comparison thing. And so when I got married and we left that church, I was really relieved because I was like, no one knows me, no one expects anything of me. And so I'll just be me. Like I'll just have fun and be me and stay under the radar or whatever. And my life has never been such that I can stay under the radar. I married Glen Henry, and he is not someone that can hide in the shadows.
Yeah.
And I think I've come to the realization that I'm not necessarily someone that can hide in the shadows, even though I really do try to. But I'm realizing that even when I'm trying to be like hide or just be kind of in the background or whatever, people are still seeing me. And
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is, that you just kind of come to the front even when you're trying to hide in the back?
I have no clue. I really don't know. I don't know. I guess, and I don't think this is anything I don't say this boastfully, but I think maybe I'm just a natural leader. And there is no escaping that. And I guess I just need to embrace it more. I'm still working it out. Obviously, I'm talking it out right now. But yeah, so I guess I think the original question was what was my target audience? Or I forgot what your question was.
Yeah, well, I originally had asked about how much, the culture or the
Okay, yeah.
idea for the culture kind of played into your naming,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a fluid conversation. So this conversation
Yeah.
gonna go wherever the conversation goes. And I think I identify a lot with you, like in saying you've always kind of tried to fall to the back, but like I never wanted to be in the spotlight, but I keep getting pushed up to the front. And, I believe that we're all on a shared journey, right? Like this is
Mm-hmm.
a shared journey. I just think that we're in different places in our journey, but we're
Mm-hmm.
on this journey together, like all of us. We're on this journey together. And I remember so distinctly being where you are, right? Like right now, and I remember what that felt like. Like I never wanted to be in the forefront. I never wanted to be like that person that people look to, but everybody just always did, like somehow I always found myself running something. I always found myself up front. I always found myself in the
Yeah.
spotlight. And then, you have all this self-doubt and all these
Yeah.
other things that kind of play into it. And I think, it took me a while, but eventually I did learn that it's easier to just embrace it, right? Because then I can control it. I'm a Leo, and control is a thing for me. Let me tell you, like control is very important for me. And so I'm excited for you as you move along your journey and figuring out like what that looks like for you, in your
Hmm.
life. What does it look like to be in the forefront? What does it look like to kind of take over your journey and participate in your journey? And I think that's why I love reading your personal journal so much, because I feel like we get to see it unfold, like
Hmm.
we get to
Yeah.
see it kind of, we see you kind of blossom over time. And I love a good story. I'm a counselor, so I listen to stories for a living.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I enjoy seeing that, and I get so excited for you. How much of your journey do you, like, as you go about your journey and you're learning more about yourself, how do you think that impacts you as a parent and as a wife?
I was just while I was listening to you talk about like whatever, I was thinking the Mrs. Melanin Exposed, it's for me, but it's also for my children as well. Especially like there's just something that happens when you have a daughter. Like I don't know what it is, and I hope I don't get emotional, but there's just something that happens as a woman having a daughter. Like I love my boys, but having a daughter, um I'm just more aware, and I'm more desirous of like walking with confidence and embracing who I am as a Black woman. And so like things like when my daughter was born, I was like, I'm going natural. I'm going to embrace my hair. I'm going to like, I'm not going to straighten it anymore. I haven't had a perm for years, but I'm not going to straighten it anymore. I'm just going to wear my fro, like whatever. I'm going to do what I got to do because I want her to know that she doesn't have to alter herself in order to be beautiful. And so I think, I don't know, I just have this overwhelming desire to be true to who I am and who God has created me to be. And so right now I feel like I'm super like, I'm really struggling to kind of discover who exactly I am. I knew after she was born I wanted to become a stay-at-home mom. And now that I'm in the role and I'm dealing with the day-to-day of it all, I'm like, dang, it would be so much easier to go to work
Yeah.
and have that be an excuse as to why I'm failing in so many different areas as a mom and a housewife or whatever. Um, like today, I'm not gonna lie, this morning I sent Glen a text because he went to the gym and I was like, hey, I need you to come home because I think I'm reaching my capacity. And I knew I had this talk to do with you. And I was like, I want to be in the right mindset
Hmm.
before I start talking to her. So, yeah, but I don't know. I feel this overwhelming desire to really just, I don't know, find me, discover me, who I am. And I feel like it's a day to day, minute to minute thing
It
that
is.
I'm
It
doing.
absolutely is. What makes you feel like, you said if you at least were going back to work, then it would give you an excuse to be failing. What is failing? Like what makes you feel like you're failing as a mom or as a wife or whatever areas you feel like you're failing in? Like what constitutes that failure for you?
I don't know. A lack of patience, a lack of understanding. My desire is always to like deal with the matter of the heart in my children, but I don't feel like I always do that. Like I'd like to address the heart issue rather than the actual act that they're doing incorrectly or whatever. And so a lot of times I think I fall short there. Um, I would say that since I've been home these last 10 plus months, I realized that I'm a closet yeller. Like, I've always considered myself to be someone that can be like, hey, stop doing that, man. Like, even I never yell, but even just in this week, and it's only Tuesday, I have yelled at my children so much. And I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do that. And I've said to myself, I need to go apologize to them. And I have not apologized. And so, I don't know. There's so many different levels of failure. I mean, I'm also trying to homeschool my 5-year-old, and um, I feel like I could totally be doing better at that. I find it a lot more challenging than just planning one blanket lesson for 100 plus kids like I used to do. As also the grade level is different. I don't know.
That's
It's just,
because you are a teacher by trade.
I am a teacher. I've wanted to be a teacher since I was a little girl, and I did everything I needed to do in order to become a teacher. I enjoyed the 7 years of teaching that I was able to accomplish. And so it was exciting to think, look, I'm going to come home and teach one kid, and it's going to be my kid. And yeah,
Didn't
about
quite
that.
work out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been dealing with this thing of my next blog post. My next blog post is going to be, whose expectations are they anyway? And that's what I've been dealing with that. I'm like, these expectations of what motherhood looks like for me, are they expectations that I've put on myself, that the world's put on me, that the Lord has for me, that my husband has for me, that my children has for me? Whose expectations am I trying to live up to? And I think with the like parenting children when my mom and dad were doing it versus me doing it now is so much different because of social media and how we can see everyone's highlight reel, and we're like, man, they're doing that with their kids, or dang, she did that lesson with her kids, or you know what I'm saying? And um it's just really, I really need to hone in on like, what does the Lord expect from me? What do my children need from me? And like, how am I meeting those needs? How am I meeting those expectations? And I think the real expectations just need to be more realistic.
I'm
Um,
all about realistic expectations.
yeah.
I teach a whole class about it. I have these ideas or theories, and I call them treesisms. And
Mm-hmm.
it's how I make sense of the world, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that expectations, and setting appropriate expectations is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that you're on the right path. But I do want to say this. um, you know, I think that there is a certain amount of guilt that comes with being a parent. Like, I'm not a parent yet. I don't have any kids of my own, but I have participated in the raising of several little crumb snatchers. But I know that that's not the same. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
very well aware. But hopefully soon, we'll be saying congratulations on a new baby. We working on it, girl. We working on it.
Okay, okay.
But I'm just in my practice, I know that there is a certain amount of guilt that the minute you find out you're going to be a parent, you start feeling guilty. Am I eating enough? Am I drinking enough
Yeah.
water? Am I doing this? Like, just I think parenting kind of comes with a built-in base level of guilt, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then that gets heightened when you add life on top of that, right? So all of the different things that life brings to us, the financial difficulties or the major changes in life, moving or can't do this, can't do that, gotta work, gotta do this, you know, like all of the different directions that life can pull us in, then kind of adds to that guilt or trying to find ourselves, right? Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
feel guilty for trying to find myself or not knowing who I am, so I can pass those things down to that confidence down to my kids. But the I think it's important to remember that it is a journey, and it's a ever evolving journey, and you are never going to get it 100% right. And I'm always stressing that to the parents that I work with, that you can't take it personal. You know, all you can do is
Mm-hmm.
the best that you can. You do what you believe is the right thing to do. And to be honest, um, I agree with you that, your personal journal, it's for you, but it is the legacy that you leave for your kids, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
very detailed, um, I think it's a detailed chronicle of your journey, like trying to figure this thing called life out. Because the reality is that they're going to have to embark on their own journey at some point in life, and they kind of look at it, they can look at it and say like, dang, mama figured this thing out. She wasn't perfect, she didn't have it all figured out, but look at the effort that was made, and this is how you go about doing it. Like, you might get knocked down, you might not be sure about things, you might not be sure about yourself, but you keep
Mm-hmm.
trying and you keep pushing. And so I think, if I could give you any tips or tidbits of information, I would say that, you just live your journey and allow it to be. Allow your journey to be what it is, because just the fact that you are engaging your journey and actively participating in your life, that's a lesson in and of itself. And you're not,
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, I'm not in your life. I don't like live in your house. I don't even know your kids, even though I feel like I know your kids. I do. And I
A
feel
lot of
like,
people do.
listen, I visualize in my head that one day I am going to meet Theo. I know you can't say you have favorites, but I definitely have a favorite. I love all of your kids. But girl, I love me some Theo, girl. I love me some Theo. And
Oh
he
my
reminds
goodness.
me of I work at a school. My nine
Mm-hmm.
to five job is at a school, and he reminds me of my little babies, in my little kindergarten classroom. And
Mm-hmm.
when I walk in there, and they just run up to me and they hug me, because I tell them Miss Latrice loves hugs, so you can
Mm-hmm.
always give me a hug. And I just see in my mind, I think Theo gives really good hugs. And I would love to. I see it in my mind. One of these days,
He
I'm gonna give
does.
me a Theo hug. I feel it.
You
I feel
will.
it in my bones. But yeah, so the show, Belief in Fatherhood, really kind of chronicles y'all's experience in parenting. And it
Mm-hmm.
is an amazing, amazing show. I also have a blog, the Black Unicorn Project, and I share y'all's videos, on my Facebook page all the time.
Thank
And
you.
anytime I'm talking to people and they looking for Black family content, I'm like, have you heard of Belief in Fatherhood? It's a
Thank
really
you
good
so
show.
much.
I love it. How did that show come about? Like, how did y'all even embark on that? And what is your role in making that happen, or like what is the role that you play in the show itself?
Okay, so um wow, is it almost 3 years ago now? It'll be 3 years. Well, the anniversary of Belief in Fatherhood will be 3 years this October, I think.
Wow.
But Glenn has been okay. So a couple of years ago, Glenn would come home from work, and I'd be like, "Hey, babe, how was your day?" It was right before Uriah was born. So yeah, Uriah is about to be. Glenn's been home all of Uriah's life. So Uriah is about to be 4. Oh my
I can
gosh.
see. Wait, I saw the realization of that kind of
Yeah.
sweep over you just now. You were,
Yeah.
I think you freaked out a little bit.
Yeah. In June, he's going to be 4. Oh my gosh. So Glenn has been self-employed for 4 years. But what happened was 4 years ago plus, um, Glenn would be coming home from work. He was working a job that he just didn't like. And so um, we realized that if he kept working that job when Uriah was born and we had to put Uriah and Theo in daycare, then his income would have been majority gone to childcare. And so it was my suggestion. And it was kind of like, I think it kind of caught Glenn off guard, but I was like, hey, what if you stay home with the kids? Like, what if you do that? And I think it took him a while to kind of come around to that idea, but he eventually came around to that idea and he's like, yeah, I can do that. And I think his intention was to focus on music. But while he was home, he realized that there was a lot of good stuff happening surrounding fatherhood. And he wanted to paint Black fatherhood in a positive light by showing the truth of what parenthood looks like, as well as the realities of what it just means to be a parent. And so he decided that he was going to start recording his day-to-day thing and create a vlog out of it. And to be completely honest with you, if you go back to the very beginning of Beleaf in Fatherhood, you don't see much of me. And a lot of that is because I was working. And a lot of that is because I avoided the camera. I wasn't very comfortable with the idea of my children being out there like that. I wasn't comfortable with the idea of America being in my home. Not even America. People are messaging us from everywhere. But it was just kind of weird for me. So it took me a while to get on board of it. But I was always willing to hold the camera up or do whatever he needed. And so it wasn't until I started seeing the impact that he was having on the people who are watching that I became what I like to call a beliefer.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. That is, yes,
I tried to start a
total
hashtag.
believer. I am
Yes.
a total believer.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so I was just seeing the comments that he was having from everyone, from moms, from single moms saying, dude, you give me hope that there are good men out there, from fathers who are like, man, you're such an encouragement and a good example, from children who are like, man, I just can't wait to be a dad one day or whatever. And then people would be messaging me and saying all kinds of positive things. And I was like, man, this is really great. Like, I didn't know there was this need for people to see healthy families. Like, we're totally imperfect. We are not a perfect. It really bothers me. And I'll probably be writing a blog on this too. But when people say hashtag goals, like, you guys are goals, it makes me uncomfortable. I understand it's a compliment or whatever. And I don't know, but I feel like we're just doing the best we can with what the Lord has given us. And we still have areas of growth that we need to meet, but we are literally like, we're in alignment to the same vision. And so I think that's what makes us so workable. The fact that we work is that we know that this takes work and we're willing to put in the work, and there is no out. There is no out. There will never ever be an out unless the Lord takes one of our lives. Yeah. We are in this for the long haul, and we're willing to do whatever it takes. And so I guess people enjoy seeing that. Like, I don't know if we portray that at all, like, good enough in our videos, but like, we are in this. We're going to figure out parenthood together. We're going to figure out marriage together, because honestly, our marriage is most important to us, because one day these children are going to be out on their own. So we're going to be looking at each other like, hey, yeah, how you doing?
Hi, stranger. Nice to meet
you. So yeah. So like, I guess getting all the positive feedback and reading through the comments. I don't even read the comments as much anymore, but I was reading the comments before, and it's just obvious to me that people need to see healthy relationships, and we're believers. And so I want to be able to be a light for the Lord. And so as his territory has been enlarged, I am like, dude, I'm in this. Like, I totally want people to, like, because while marriage is something that is, it takes a lot of work, it is something to look forward to. And I feel like in this day and time, I don't know if people are looking forward to it as much as they used to. And so if I can come alongside him and make it look, or not, it's not that we're making it look, it's that it is. Like, that's one thing. I'll tell you this. My role in Beleaf in Fatherhood is to keep it real, because I never want anyone, that's what I told Glen. I was like, I never want us to be living a facade. If we're going to do this, it's going to be real. And the minute that it becomes unauthentic, we stop. We're not doing it anymore. We're not putting our lives out there for people to believe that we're living this life that we're not really living. And so I think the fact that we've been able to remain true to ourselves and genuine in what we put out has really allowed me to kind of come on board. And plus, I'm home now. Right. So it's inevitable that I am going to be more in the videos. And so I've always been a sounding board for Glen when he's putting out content. Um, we've always made joint efforts in maintaining our livelihood and our home and raising these kids. And now that we have, Frank the puppet is kind of right here, so I'm looking over here. Now that we have Frank the puppet, we're trying to gear that to be more of an educational kids channel that we have going on. And so a lot of the times when Glen's holding the puppet, I'm video recording, making sure he's in focus, making sure his head's not showing in the shot. And, so I've come alongside him to help record, to help give him like pieces of advice about, what should this episode be about? Or sometimes, I'm not going to lie, sometimes I'll be like, hey, babe, we should go do this. This will be great content. And so, because a lot of times he won't be willing to do something because he's like, I don't want to go apple picking. But if I'd be like, hey, babe, this might be good content, he'll be like, okay, let's go, type of thing. So sometimes some of the activities we do in the videos is me kind of being like, hey, babe, this is good content or whatever. And to be honest with you, like behind the scenes, the administrative part of Beleaf in Fatherhood, I'm still trying to figure out my place there. I know that my husband needs so much help, but like I said, I just became a stay-at-home mom, so now I'm trying to figure out what does this version of Yvette look like. And so me figuring that out and trying to help him, it's definitely like there's a little bit of friction there. It's like, okay, I know you need help, but I also need help because I'm drowning over here.
Yeah.
And so we're steadily trying to figure it out. We're looking to hopefully be in a place where we can hire someone to kind of come on and do administrative Beleaf in Fatherhood things. We just became an LLC. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So we're making steps. It's definitely, we have now adopted Beleaf in Fatherhood as our Beleaf in Fatherhood is how we live and breathe.
Yeah.
And praise the Lord for that. Praise the Lord for that. Because when he started this almost 3 years ago, I was like, why? What is the point? And I never saw us being able to live off of it. And so it's such a blessing to be able to be a blessing for all the viewers, as well as to be able to do this and live off of it. And I just continue to see the Lord enlarging his territory. And as long as I'm seeing the fruit from it, the edifying fruit from it, then I'm just like, you know what, let's do this. I'm on Team Glenry. Let's go. So,
well, and that's, I was telling you, that's one of the things that really made me want to know more about you and really kind of made me like say, well, who is she? Let me check her out, because in one of the episodes, the episode where y'all had the diaper explosion situation thing happen, and I heard Glen, I heard your husband say something along the lines of, my wife is awesome and amazing. And I was like, you know what? She does seem pretty amazing, like, because I would see you. I mean, I've been watching maybe for probably, because I remember when the baby was born. I remember you pregnant. And so I started watching like right before that. So about a year now. About a year.
Okay, yeah.
I've been watching. And so you were always there in some way, shape, form, or fashion since I've been watching, but you were really kind of in the background. And you didn't say much, and then eventually you started talking more, and you started like having more input, and my eye just always drew to you. Maybe because I do. I work a lot with Black women, and so I think I'm just kind of into with that, that whole thing. And I also, I think I'm pretty good at reading energies. I don't think you need to be in the presence of an energy to be able to read it. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I think I'm pretty good at identifying when somebody has a story. You know what I'm saying? And so when I started really kind of digging into you and trying to understand who you were and say, would this be a good person to interview? I was like, like immediately, as soon as I went to your, I was like, she got a blog? What? As soon as I went to the blog, I was like, okay, this is exactly the kind of person that fits right into my wheelhouse. And, I do want to talk more about what y'all have coming up, like Frank the Puppet. And I know y'all have a new children's book, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, which is so cute. But I also wanted to say, you touched on, you said something a few minutes ago, along the lines of, when you see people put hashtag goals and things and it
Mm-hmm.
makes you uneasy, it makes you uncomfortable. But then you also, a little while after that, you said, one of like your biggest goal that you told your husband is that we have to be authentic. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to, I don't know, I just want to give you maybe a different perspective on that, in the sense of that authenticity. You would be surprised at how rare it really is in relationships. Um, and so, and I know this because for a long time, a long portion of my career, I specialized in relationship counseling. And so, and I still do relationship coaching and counseling and stuff. And so, like, it's kind of what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, relationships
Mm-hmm.
are my thing. And so you would be surprised at how many people sincerely struggle for authenticity in their relationships. And I think when people put hashtag goals, that's what they're drawn to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is a goal, to have that authentic kind of connection with the spouse, because there's so many people that walk throughout this life and walk throughout this world never really being able to trust another human being, never
Mm-hmm.
really being able to let their guard down around a potential romantic suitor, like never really feeling that sense of comfort and complete acceptance, unconditional love, like all of the things that y'all display. I think it's very, very much apparent, to me, that y'all are not perfect, but there's no such thing as a perfect relationship.
Yeah.
Like, there's no such thing. But you are hashtag goals, because just being able to have that authenticity, just being able to, I love the banter that you and your husband have with each other. I love the chemistry that y'all have with each other. I love the way that you work together in your co-parenting,
Mm-hmm.
of the kids. And even when you don't agree on something, like, I love that, like, you support him, he supports you. And then when it's just me and you, we're gonna have a talk about this,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so y'all's relationship is hashtag goals, because the little things that you take for granted, because those are just that's how your relationship is, that's just
Mm-hmm.
what your relationship is. There are people that are being fed by that, and like you said, the people are saying, man, you give me hope, because they've never had
Mm-hmm.
relationships like that. They've never had a relationship where they could say, you're getting on my nerves, I need you to go sit down. Like, they've
Mm-hmm.
never been in that kind of situation. So, I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying before. Walk into that, acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
that that is the relationship you have, and that it's a healthy relationship, and it is something that is worthy of other people striving toward.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So let's talk about, this, what y'all have coming up. So first of all, Frank the Puppet, OMG, he is ridiculously cute. When y'all first started introducing, Frank the Puppet, y'all were like prepping us, right, for,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for Frank the Puppet, and I was like, okay, is it a real puppet, or like what's what's happening with this? And then when
Yeah.
I saw Frank the Puppet, I was like, this is genius. Like, I
Yeah.
love the direction that, I just love the direction that y'all are taking. I love the direction that everything is going in. Talk to me and to us, the audience, about what's coming up for Beleaf in Fatherhood, and what did you call it? Your Henry? What did you call that?
Oh, I called him Glenry because his
Glen.
name's Glen Henry Glenry.
Okay, okay, okay. So
Yeah.
what's next? What's on the horizon?
So we've launched our second channel, Frank Puppet, and we're trying to create that as like a kids channel because we realize that one day our kids are going to get older And so people aren't going to necessarily be as engaged as they currently are. And so Frank Puppet, we're hoping, is a channel that will kind of keep going. We kind of want it to be the Black version of Sesame Street. I don't know.
I can
My husband,
totally see that.
yeah,
I
my
mean,
husband,
I can see it. I can see it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My husband, it has always been a big like Sesame Street Muppets fan, and so I don't know if you guys know how Frank was established, but he was established through a Snapchat filter that eventually went away. So um, Glen, like people were like, "When's Frank coming back?" Because Glen adopted like a character on Snapchat called Frank, and so that's where Frank the Puppet came from. And so people were like, "Where is he at? Where is he at?" And if you go watch some of the episodes behind the snaps, you'll see Frank. So Glenn eventually just took a snapshot of that person, gave it to the guy who created the puppet, and this is how we got Frank the Puppet. So it's pretty cool and exciting, but we're hoping that'll just take off and grow immensely. And then we have our first children's book that we wrote, or that I can't say we, but Glenn.
Yeah.
If you watch this show, it's Glenn often sings a song called "Hey Buddies, It's Bedtime Now" type thing. And so the first book was called "It's Bedtime Now," and it kind of highlights some of the real life shenanigans of our children in the book when they're supposed to be sleeping. And so we're hoping to start a Chocolate Babies kids book line, if that makes sense. So
It
like
does. It
this
does.
one's called The Chocolate Babies and It's Bedtime Now. The next one we call it The Chocolate Babies in I don't know what. But we're super excited about these things. We're really just trying to further brand ourselves, and just kind of make Beleaf in Fatherhood a staple at large. And so, yeah, there's lots to come. Maybe conferences. We'd love to travel around the world. Glenn, his desire is to be a speaker. And so we're hoping to be able to travel around the US, around the world, really, and just kind of promote positivity and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, well, your kid was already in a freaking Gap ad,
Yeah.
so
No, it was the Apple.
it was Apple.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
Apple.
so
Yeah.
like, yeah, so like his face was like,
Yeah.
yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
So I see great big things happening for y'all, and I'm excited for y'all and for everything that's coming. What's next for Mrs. Melanin Exposed? What's on the horizon for that?
The only time will tell. Glenn, he sees so much in me and I see so much in him, but lately he's really been trying to pull me out. And to be honest with you, I have no clue what I'm doing. I have no clue. I enjoy writing, and so I'd love to like just write more. I'd love to even take classes on writing or whatever. I've even thought about starting a podcast myself. Glenn would like me to do my own videos. Who knows what will come? But honestly, my heart is to encourage other women. And so however I can do that in whatever avenue that I see that I can do that, then I totally will embrace it. But right now, I think I'm just going to stick with the blog. I don't know that I am trying to grow it. I do want more people to follow it. And so I guess that's something. But yeah, I'd love to see my blog grow and I don't know, just continue supporting the Henry household, making sure we stay afloat. But for right now, I'm just trying to just hear from the Lord as far as the direction he wants me to go. That's where we are right now.
Okay, okay.
In the meantime, stay tuned on Mrs. Melanin Exposed.
Yes, yes. So go ahead and give everybody information on how they can get in touch with you, how they can catch the show, where they can find the book and Frank the Puppet. Let everybody know.
Okay, so you can see us weekly on Beleaf in Fatherhood. It's a YouTube channel on YouTube, a channel on YouTube. So just youtube.com/backslash Beleaf in Fatherhood TV. And Beleaf is spelled Beleaf. We don't like the word lie being in it. And so that is the channel on YouTube. And then you can find me on Instagram. I do a lot of Insta stories, and and I post often. I think people like my account because of the chocolate babies, but I'm Mrs. Melanin, MRSMELANIN. I'm always there. I keep Facebook personal, and I don't really do Snapchat, but I am on Snapchat too, but I don't ever post there. Instagram is my outlet. And then my blog is on WordPress, and it's called Mrs. Melanin Exposed. So you can check me out there.
And I'll put links to everything down in the
Wonderful.
description. And I just want to say again, well, not again, but just to kind of reiterate and bookend everything else that I've said today. I follow your Instagram because of you. I also follow the chocolate babies because of the
Oh,
chocolate
yes.
babies, but I
Yeah.
follow your Instagram because of you. And my hope for you, I think that it is obvious to me. I know I don't know you,
Mm-hmm.
but well, I feel like I know you in my head. I feel like anytime I'm like gonna interview somebody, like I just kind of I've already done this interview in my head. You know what I'm saying? So I do feel like I'm already like you're my friend in my head, and so I know that we're not super duper close, but I can tell that there is a lot more in you than what you can see right now. And that's okay. That's okay because your eyes are opening to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you are very, very spiritual, very well, I don't know if we would necessarily say religious, but I can feel that you are very, very spiritual. You talk about God a lot, and I love the Lord, girl. And so
Mm-hmm.
I will say that God is putting people in your plate in front of you, right? Putting people in place in your world and in your life to consistently remind you of just how cool and awesome and amazing you are. And so eventually those reminders are going to take hold for you. And I think that they already kind of have, but it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
let go of, past thoughts sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but just keep at it. And if there's ever anything that I can do to help you along that journey, I am literally one phone call away. You actually have my number now. Did I send you my number? I
I
meant to
think
send you
so
my
in
number.
one of the
I'm gonna
emails.
make sure. I'm gonna make sure you have my number. And I literally am one text or phone call away. This is, I love doing the podcast, but the podcast is just one outlet. This is what I do for a living, girl. And
Mm-hmm.
not to toot my own horn, but I am very good at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that there is something in you that is trying to come out, and it's coming out, and you hesitant, but it's okay because you're not giving up, like you're not just locking it away. And so what that
Mm-hmm.
says to me is that you have a curiosity about it, like there's something there. You feel it, you know it, you just have to wrap your mind around it. And so God is just going to keep putting people in front of you to remind you of it and make sure that you keep it at the front of your mind. And you're going to figure that journey out, and I'm excited
Mm-hmm.
for you. I am, because you have an opportunity to actively participate in your growth. I think a lot of times we just kind of live, and we're just kind of out here. I mean, I went through it. Like, I feel like I didn't even realize that life was life until I graduated from grad school. So here I am, 26 years old, because I took a little break between undergrad and grad, and I finished grad school, and it was like my whole world just like, it was like, oh my God, this is life. Life is happening right now. Whereas before I was just living, 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 living. And so you have this very unique and awesome opportunity of awareness. And so that's a blessing in and of itself, like knowing that you're on this journey and being aware that you get to participate in this journey and not just kind of bumbling through it, like you can
Mm-hmm.
you can actively participate in moving your life in the direction that it is intended to go in. Like that is,
Mm-hmm.
that's when my counseling nerd comes out. Because I just get overwhelmed by that. So, anyway, if there's anything that I can do to help you along your way, in my head, we friends now, girl. So, me
Yes.
and I'm waiting on my hug from Theo. I'm gonna get that hug, and I'm gonna pinch Uriah's cheeks because those things are just
Those cheeks are
ridiculous.
magical.
Right? It is
Yes.
magical. And Anaya's little thighs. Oh my God, those
Hmm.
thighs. So if there's anything I can do to ever help you along your journey, I'm sure this is not going to be our last time working together. My wheels are already turning on other ways that we can do things together. And just congratulations on everything.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
and good luck. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. It was very edifying for me too.
Good.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. Kiss them chocolate babies for me and tell Theo I want my hug. I'm not playing.
I will.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
I thoroughly enjoyed talking to Yvette Henry. She was just a joy, and you all only hear the video, but I actually, was talking to her and like looking her face to face, and she's so genuine and she's so sincere, and you can just see it, like you can see it on her face, and I'm excited for her and the direction that her life is going in. I'm looking forward to seeing how she grows in her purpose and like figures it all out. Like, and I'm not playing about my hug from Theo. That is going to happen one of these days. Like it's going to happen. Like he looks like he gives really great hugs. So check out her blog, Mrs. Melanin Exposed on WordPress. The link is in her bio on her Instagram page. Also, check out the Belief in Fatherhood YouTube series. It is amazing. I love it. This family is, I think, everything that the black family can be and actually is at its core, but we don't get to see it in mainstream television. And so, Yvette and her husband Glen and the kids and like even her family is involved from time to time. Like we really get an opportunity to see these people live their lives, and it's amazing and I love it, and I wish them all of the success in the world. And I'm working on trying to get a couple copies of the book. I'll let y'all know when the book comes out. I'm trying to get a couple copies and maybe, I don't know, do a giveaway or something for y'all. But y'all got to participate. So, yeah, we're going to work that out. Okay. So, coming up next is High Five. Today we have two high fives going on, okay? The first high five goes to Canada, just like the entire country of Canada. Um, and an article on blavity.com by way of The Guardian, they announced that Canada debuted a new $10 bill in honor of civil rights pioneer Viola Desmond. So, for those of you who did not know, because I have to admit I did not know who Viola Desmond was, and so I had to do a little bit of research. But they give a lot of good information in the article, so check that out if you need some background. Viola Desmond was chosen out of more than 26,000 candidates to be placed on this bill, and it was unveiled by the Bank of Canada last week on March 8th. She is the first Canadian woman to appear on the country's money, and this particular bill, the $10 bill that she's featured on, is the first Canadian bill to be printed in vertical orientation. So her photo literally takes up the entire bill, and it's gorgeous. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check that out. Viola Desmond became famous when she refused to get out of her seat in a whites only area in a segregated theater. Now, this was in 1946, so this was like 9 years before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus in my Montgomery, which subsequently sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, right? So this happened. Viola Desmond did this 9 years before Rosa Parks did it, and she did this in Canada. She was arrested at the time. She spent a night in jail, and she was charged a $26 fine. She did fight the charges. Her case went to court. She lost her case, but she was credited with ushering in the start of Canada's civil rights movement. And she's also credited with ushering in the end of the segregation in the Nova Scotia province. So, high five to Canada and the Bank of Canada for just doing what America can. I mean, they've been talking about putting Lady Tubman on a bill for how long now, and they haven't made this thing happen. Canada, I think, continues to serve as an example. I mean, obviously, no country is perfect, but I think that we definitely here in America could learn a lot from our brethren up north, you know? So, high five to Canada, high five to the Bank of Canada, and yeah, keep on doing dope stuff like that. The second high five for today goes to National Geographic. So, also another article that I read on Blavity.com. National Geographic has dedicated its April 2018 issue to race. And so what they decided was that, well, I think that they're trying to make a shift toward talking about race more and things like that. And I think also marginalized populations. And so the April 2018 issue looks at their own history of racial discrimination, prejudice, and biased coverage. So the new editor in chief, or the editor in chief of National Geographic magazine, her name is Susan Goldberg, and she said, and I quote, I'm the 10th editor of National Geographic since its founding in 1888. I'm the first woman and the first Jewish person, a member of two groups that also once faced discrimination here. It hurts to share the appalling stories from the magazine's past, Goldberg said. But when we decided to devote our April magazine to the topic of race, we thought we should examine our own history before turning our reportal gaze to others. She goes on to say, until the 1970s, National Geographic all but ignored people of color who lived in the United States, rarely acknowledging them beyond laborers or domestic workers. Meanwhile, it pictured natives elsewhere as exotics, famously and frequently unclothed, happy hunters, noble savages, every type of cliche. And she's absolutely right. I never got into National Geographic. I don't know. I've always had like a weird relationship with National Geographic because I do want to find out the information. Like I enjoy learning about other cultures and things like that. But I have always felt that, I never felt right about the way that they covered it. And like this part where she's talking about how they were famously and frequently unclothed. I think the first time that I really saw a African woman and like really knew that it was an African woman, like in terms of like print media, was in a National Geographic. And I remember it was this beautifully dark skinned woman, and she had a lip plate, which was the first time that I saw that, and I was so intrigued by that. But then she was naked, and her breasts were out, her vagina was out, like she was just like straight up naked. And I remember saying to myself, even I think I couldn't have been very old at that time. I remember saying to myself, like, why she gotta be naked? Like they wear clothes in Africa. Like, I don't understand why every photograph is a naked African woman. I don't get that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that the National Geographic is really looking internally at, like, in the sense of, in an effort to start the discussion about race, or to further the discussion about race. I'm glad that they are looking into their own closet, as it were, and really kind of identifying where they went wrong and areas that they could have made some improvements in. And so, high five to National Geographic for taking a look. They hired a historian. His name was John Edward Mason, and he like examined all of the archives of the magazine, and he's the one that kind of gave them. He reported back to them about what their patterns were and things like that. And so, high five to National Geographic. High five to Mr. Mason for calling it out and bringing it to their attention. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. We'll see what kind of changes they make moving forward, but I definitely think that this is a great start. So, high five to you all. And that is the show today. We've made it to the end of yet another episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Just a few announcements. I am going to be giving a free webinar next week inside of my Facebook group, Trust Village. And the title is going to be Five Tips to Kickstart Your Journey of Healing and Manifestation. And we're really going to be talking about the nuts and bolts of what it takes to create the life you deserve. So, I'm going to give you some very specific starter steps on what needs to happen in order to kickstart this journey for yourself. It's a journey, it's a process. If you've learned nothing else from me, I hope that you have learned that this is not a quick fix. This is work, this is effort, but it's doable, and I'm going to help you do it. So, if you're not yet a member of Trust Village, make sure that you join. I'm going to put the link down in the bio. It's going to be next Wednesday, March 21st at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure that you stay till the end because there will be a very special surprise. Y'all know I sing when I get happy. I love y'all. Y'all let me be who I am, and I sure do appreciate you. And also, you still have time to enter the giveaway that we are running. I don't know if you're aware, but if you listen to last week's episode, True Love Movement with Mama Faya. Hey, Mama Faya, how you doing? Then you know that we have a signed copy or signed copies of her book set. The first book is Runaway Girl, which is basically a chronicling of her early life experiences and the trauma that she endured. And then Keep It High, her new book, Keep It High Thoughts in a New Light, which chronicles her transition into becoming the light force that she is today. And she is amazing. And we have some signed copies of her book, and I'm going to be giving those away. So that ends on next Tuesday, March 20th, and the winners will be announced on next week's show. Actually, we've had a good bit of people to sign up for the giveaway. This is our very first giveaway here on the Unicorns Talk podcast, the first of many, hopefully. And so make sure that you participate. These books are amazing, and I guarantee that you will enjoy them. All you have to do is to follow Unicorns Talk podcast on Instagram and myself, Latrice Sampson Richards, on Instagram, and sign up for my newsletter, which is also going to be the link to sign up is going to be in the description box. Okay, so that's it. Just do those things, and you'll get registered to win. Signed up and put your name in the hat. Okay. Also, don't forget that tickets are on sale for Runaway Girl, her one woman stage play. So if you find yourself in New Orleans Easter weekend, it's the Friday of Easter weekend, March 30th. If you find yourself in New Orleans Easter weekend, check her out. It's going to be awesome and amazing. And she's awesome and amazing. And Brother Shaq is like, awesome and amazing. How did you know I was going to say that? So check them out. You can follow them also on Instagram at True Love Movement. Just a few shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Black Married Fly podcast. Of course, if y'all have not checked out Black Married Fly podcast yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. Like, it is one of my favorite shows, so I listen to them all the time. But shout out to Candace and Treb over at Black Married Fly Podcast. Definitely want to give another shout out to Belief in Fatherhood. Look them up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Most importantly, though, on YouTube. It is a show, I promise you, if you watch one episode, you will fall in love with this family, if for no other reason than Uriah's cheeks. Okay? Because they are ridiculously cute. Okay, so shout out to Belief in Fatherhood and Mrs. Melanin, Yvette Henry. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show, and just for being so transparent and open and vulnerable. I love it. It is a beautiful thing, and I appreciate you for blessing us with that. Shout out to the chocolate babies with y'all cute selves. Also, shout out to Unapologetic Podcast, Jaden Hollywood. Hey, Jaden. I love Jaden. I started listening to his show. He's shown me so much love since he got introduced to the show. I actually had an opportunity to have a real life conversation with him, and so we are definitely going to be collaborating on some things, and I'm looking forward to that. Also, shout out to the Friend Zone podcast. I do every Tuesday night, I do a live stream inside my Facebook group, Trust Village. And tonight's live stream was inspired by a recent episode that they did that I actually just listened to today. I'm several weeks behind, but I just listened to it today, and it was titled Maybe It's You. If you have not listened to their podcast, go back and maybe start with that episode. It's a really great episode. So I did an entire webinar slash live stream about that tonight, and just kind of took it to another level. But it was inspired by them. So shout out to the Friend Zone. I love them. I love them. And also shout out to the Black Unicorn Project. Definitely have some things coming down the pike. Check out the blackunicornproject.com if you have not yet. And that's it. That's all the show I have for y'all. I love y'all, and I want you to know that. And I appreciate y'all. And until next time, y'all, be well. Bye.